Hi, everyone, and welcome to the third episode of Connecting Dots podcast. First of all, a big shout out to all of our returning audience, and for the people who are joining us for the first time, we are going to be demystifying job titles and we'll discuss life and career. Today, we're going to be joined by a senior systems engineer who's based out of LA, and he also holds an executive position as a board member for FAANA, which is Alumni Association of North America for Fast News Pakistan. So, with that, let's get right into it. How are you doing today, Uzair?
Thank you for having me. Feeling pretty good. Even better to be on the show. So thank you.
Thank you so much once again. And with that, tell me a little bit about your current role. And since you are a systems engineer, so throw some light on what the term stands for and what responsibilities might come with the role.
Yeah, sure. So I'm working as a senior systems engineer for a restaurant chain currently based out of Los Angeles, California. I work with the retail systems group of that company, and we have around 150 locations right now throughout United States. And I work with everything hardware that goes into a store environment. A lot of time of mine is spent around integration assembly of point of sale systems, kitchen backend kitchen management system, back of our PC, and I do a lot of discovery around all the innovation and cool new hardware that goes into the store environment, be it drive-throughs, walk-ups, uh, pick up screens, smart shelves. So it's kind of a overarching role that allows me to explore various facets of a retail environment.
Okay, that's great. Um, and I believe that systems engineering is kind of like an umbrella term, and this might entail that a systems engineer might have to work in a team to come up with the design that eventually is going to be implemented by a lot of other departments, and eventually, all in all, I would say that you guys have to work together to come up with a very solid and consistent design that's going to be delivering products as expected. So tell me a little bit about what kind of work culture have you seen around your organization with people in this role?
Yeah, so it's been a nice experience so far because the company that I work for is, although we have 150 locations, but it's still considered as a startup culture. So it's been like a 8 9 year old startup. So the work environment is pretty fast paced. It's pretty dynamic. And talking about the systems engineering role as well, I think a lot of people have still misconceptions about what this role exactly does. A lot of time people confuse it with like IT system administrator and roles like that. But I think it's a good question because, like you said, it's a um, umbrella term, and it doesn't have to be specific about any particular domain or particular field, but it can have application in diverse set of fields. Earlier I was working in transportation industry. Currently I'm working restaurant chain, but the basic principles of system engineering and system thinking stay the same. And I can go a little bit further into what systems engineering exactly is if you want. But I mean, my role is more around validation, verification, and also like designing and development of new technology. And I basically oversee over the entire project life cycle. So starting from the initiation, doing research and discovery around what's new out there, prototyping, testing in our lab, then actually piloting it, and also making sure that uh, it is supported, and given proper maintenance once out in the production. uh, you know Working closely with cross-functional teams, be it software engineering team, quality assurance QA team, and then closing the loop, and then figuring out how that whole journey of that product remained while outside in the field, and then figuring out if it's worth rolling it out into the field. So yeah, that's
Right.
kind of
Mhm.
like a like a typical life cycle looks like for a new product that we launch. Um, so I would say it deals with a lot of working with internal and external stakeholders and delivering the product. But then at the same time, there are standard projects as well that are going all the time, which is, like I mentioned, supporting and supporting the delivery of you know standard hardware systems that are necessary or essential for a smooth running of a store system.
Nice, that is great. And since you work in very early stages of a product in the systems team, I would say that a lot of fast feedback is required from you guys as well. That you have to work in iterations as fast as possible, so that if you were to fail, you should fail fast, so that you guys can alter your approach and maybe do some tweaking and whatnot. Because the thing is, once your product is going to be, let's say, in an NQA before it goes out to the customer, and then somebody finds a critical fault, then it might be too expensive to repair it at that point of time. So that's
Yeah.
pretty nice.
No,
I wanted
that's
to
actually
really.
very true, and
Mhm.
I will quickly add on to it, since these are actually live stores, and
Mhm.
they're money making stores, right? Customer walk in
Right,
there,
cash
and
cows.
yeah, exactly. So especially since I work on the hardware side of the things, I have to be very careful about what time we go into the stores, what products we are deploying, how well we are coordinating with the store teams, because any mishap basically just brings down the entire store, and that is obviously not good for the business.
Of course, of course. And also, I was very curious to ask you this question that I've typically seen a lot of PhDs in the systems engineering role. And so it just naturally created I would say, some sort of an imposter syndrome about even applying to that field. Not that I'm actively looking for it right now, but it's just out of curiosity, to be honest. So, in your opinion, do you think that a deeper dive in academics would help you excel in a systems engineering role? Let's say if you were to have PhD.
I wasn't ever like inclined towards getting a PhD. I think for to be able to excel in this kind of role, you need to have certain personality traits, and I think first of all you really need to understand what systems engineering is. So um, I think having that understanding of that definition is important. Uh, Systems engineering is basically an interdisciplinary field that focuses on how to design, integrate, and manage complex systems over their complete life cycle. And its core system engineering utilizes system thinking principle. And if you are in the system engineering field, you'll hear this word or phrase, system thinking principle, a lot. So you need to be
Okay.
like clear about what that systems thinking is, and what it is basically um, a way of making sense of whole complex systems as a whole and relationships, as instead of like splitting them into the smaller parts. So in layman terms, you basically need to always see at the bigger picture.
Um, okay, so Uzair, I would really want to ask you two things. Basically, so first one would be that how did you develop an interest or a passion for the role that you're in right now? And secondly, if somebody were to follow this career path, what do you think technically as well as personality wise should they have in order to be successful in this position?
So as far as being passionate, I think I will say that I've always been a big picture guy, and I have always looked at systems as whole, even in life as well. Like I always tend to look at the bigger picture. And it's just so happened that I decided to pursue a master's degree in this field, and then it still doesn't have a lot of people working in this kind of roles. So I think that just opened up a lot of opportunities for me. As far as if somebody is looking to come into this field, I would say you don't have to be like you don't really need a degree to be in this field, I would say. I think uh, having a basic bachelor's degree in engineering definitely helped me, because it expands your horizon. So I think having
Right.
that
Mhm.
um, sound understanding of how engineering systems work, and that is important. On the personal level, I think you need to be ready to step out of your comfort zone. I think that is very important, because a lot of time you're when you're doing a job, you're focusing just on stuff that is assigned to you or what falls under your domain. But I think as a systems engineer, you need to really be ready to look outside of your particular domain. Should have a holistic approach towards problem solving, and just keeping in mind the
Mhm.
relationships of what you're doing with what other people are doing.
Yeah, no, that's pretty cool. And it's just like, well, first of all, it's pretty cool to know that, you don't need to be academically very savvy, like you don't necessarily need to have a PhD or something to excel in the role. Well, that really helps to kill my imposter syndrome. But secondly, another thing is that if we just consider it a problem, we face so many problems there in our daily lives, and they're all different from one another. So it's just like if you look at a problem and ask the right set of questions, then I think step by step, I guess anybody can piece it together as far as they care about the product that they're working on. That's pretty cool. I would switch gears a little bit, and I would want to ask you that you've made a switch, or you've moved from being in U.S. capital to being in LA right now. So how has this transition been for you?
I mean, it's been a pretty amazing transition so far. I've been very grateful. I guess going back to that earlier point of being outside of your comfort zone, I think I've always noticed as soon as you step out of your comfort zone, there's a huge growth potential, and a lot of learnings as well. So, Maryland or DC, Maryland is a neighboring state to DC, is where I landed first when I moved to US, and I went to grad school over there as well. Luckily, found the job in the same area. Uh, I had,
Amazing.
you know, I had a lot of support network over there in terms of some close family there, so that helped a lot. So I was there for like 6 7 years in altogether. But I was looking to switch my role, and not really role, but the type of work that I was doing. And it just so happened that there was this job opportunity that I felt that really aligned with what I wanted to do, because at times finding good just descriptions on systems engineering can be a little hard. um, so I found that, and it's kind of interesting that when I came to LA for interview, it was my first time being in Los Angeles, or California for that matter. And initially I had thought that I would just go and I'll just treat it as a paid trip, just go
Nice.
there, prepare for interview, and do some sightseeing and then come back, because I literally knew nobody in the entire of California. So, but then I went there. I liked the vibe. I saw growth opportunity, and it just so happened that things fell in place, and eventually I was offered the role, and I decided to take it up.
Nice. That's pretty cool. Well, I'm really happy for you that you were progressing in your career. So, okay, so I have one more question before we switch gears and talk about academics in general. Um, do you think certifications before entering the job market, let's say, do you think certifications help someone position themselves better in the job market? I mean, strictly speaking about the role that you're in right now.
I think in my role there are some certifications, but I don't think so it matters a lot. But I think it varies from role to role. Like, I mean, if you're a network engineer, you definitely need to get certifications. Similarly, like, let's say if you're a civil engineer or a fire protection engineer, having those certifications, and appearing for those license exams, I think that's very critical. But as far as my role is concerned, I mean, there are certifications that you can do, but I guess just doesn't really add too much to your plate unless maybe somewhat later in the career, or there's other scenario if you're working with the government. They might require you to, as part of their plan, they might want you to do some sort of certifications.
Okay, great, good to know. Um, and now adding to the fact that you've moved coast to coast, and then not only that, but you've crossed oceans as well. You did your undergrad in Pakistan, then you moved to US. So I want to understand that, or I want you to comment on the fact that how do you think your academic life has shaped you into who you are, transitioning from your undergrad towards your master's degree?
Yeah, I think all that I am today is because of the good education that I got, and I think I was very fortunate that I got the opportunity to attend FAST in Lahore, where I did my undergrad. And I think it really gave me a holistic approach of what it is to be a sound electrical engineer, and that really laid good basis. And especially like all the courses that we took over there, I think that really prepared me well for any technical challenge that may come towards me later on in the life. And based on all those courses that I took, I think it really allowed me to have a smooth transition when I was in grad school. I really feel, especially the technical courses, or like math centric courses that we took in undergrad, are like comparable to any good university anywhere in the world. I still remember doing like all those complex variable transforms and linear algebra and calculus,
Yeah,
although I've never used it again. But I think
true.
it just opens up your mind, and makes bigger problem easier for you to solve.
No, exactly. And I'd like to mention Fourier transform. Like I work in telecom, but I've never really used it. I understand how it works. It's just that I've never used the mathematics in my line of field. Anyways, so recently I've come to notice that you've been hosting a lot of webinars on YouTube, and that you're on the executive board for FAANA, which is the Alumni Association for Fast News in Pakistan. In what way have you contributed towards the Alumni Association, and what have been some of the cool experiences that you might have had interacting with a lot of cool alumni uh, in this position?
Yeah, sure. So I mean, like, going back to your previous question, obviously there was a big jump when I moved from US to Pakistan, coming from FAST. And then after that, I spent some time doing few odd jobs like everybody does in US. And then finally I started my grad school in 2015, and I was there for a couple of years. And as a like a for like an international student or like an immigrant, I think you go through a huge journey while you're adjusting in a new country, in a new environment. And along the way, you come across a lot of people who help you with, figuring out how to, survive all those courses that you're taking, how to, do job hunting, how to find an internship for summer, how to find housing, how to, what's the best store for grocery, or where can you go for halal grocery, all that kind of stuff.
True that.
So I mean, I had an excellent time while I was in grad school. I graduated in 2017, and then I even during my grad school, I made it a point that to attend like each and every networking event that was happening on campus. So like after I finished, I think it was beginning of 2019 when I got familiar with FAANA, which is FAST Alumni Association of North America. I went to one of their meetups in Maryland. Some of the alumni were visiting from other state, so they had a small gathering, and I went there, and I really liked the idea how they were trying to get together and give back to the institution that was so instrumental in their growth and success over the period of times. And then one of the founding members, he just asked me that, hey, why don't you run for the board? And I said, yeah,
Yeah.
sure, why not? So then I joined the board in 2019.
Mhm.
It's been almost, I've served for almost 1.5 term. I think it has allowed me to connect with a lot of alumni. I still remember, and I'm sure you can relate to that as well, that when we were at FAST, we would, hear about all these, cool folks that are working with all these big tech firms,
Yeah, I know, right?
Facebook, Google. So and we never really had a chance to connect with them, but so when I joined the board, I gave this idea, actually launched this initiative where we went out to all those cool folks and asked them if they want to volunteer some time and be part of this webinar series. This was like a monthly webinar series, and we would bring one alumni who's working in some big tech firm, and have them come and talk about anything they're passionate about, their core competency for like an hour, and then we'll have a Q&A session as well. So obviously, we were imparting some knowledge, but more than that, my goal was to have that community engagement and to connect the alumni, and more importantly, connect the alumni with the existing student, the current students who are pursuing their studies, so that they have some sort of relatability with them. That hey, if these guys went to such and such places from FAST, why can't we do that? So I think that was like a small way of giving back to the um, to the institution that we went. I know you asked about the fun stuff, but I think personally as well, it helped me a lot to network with all these people, and because I was basically meeting a new person, or at least more than one person every month. So I would reach out to 2 3 people, and then eventually we'll settle down on one person. So I got to network with all these people. So yeah, I think it helped me in my personal growth as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I would say that it's a huge blessing in life that if we can get to be in the mentorship of a brilliant senior, I would say. Owing to the fact that computers is a very fast-paced industry, how do you keep yourself up to date with the changing industry trends?
I believe I'm still trying to improve on my reading habits, so I try to stay connected with all the leading news outlets. I've subscribed to some journals, and just keeping an out on various websites, and looking at various forums as well to stay up to date on that, and making sure that I stay up to date with different industry trends. As far as education is concerned, I think I try to do some education courses here and there just to stay updated and to keep my brain working.
Amazing, amazing. No, that's good to know. And I saw on LinkedIn that you were making some waves by getting some Harvard certifications. Can you throw some light on that? Because I've seen a lot of executives getting Harvard certifications as well, and I understand that that must be pretty tough, considering that you have to keep up with your tough day job and then you have to make time for self study. So throw some light on how your experience was with those cool Harvard grads.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've been wanting to do that particular course for a couple of years. It's basically called Core, and it consists of 3 courses: so business analytics, economics, and financial accounting. So it can be treated as a pre-MBA. It's a 6 months course, and I graduated in 2017 from my graduate school. So since then I've been keeping an eye on it. Obviously, like you mentioned, with work and everything, it wasn't really possible. But then finally, like come 2020, and there was pandemic, and then there
Yeah.
was so much uncertainty, and everybody was working from home, and I thought, it's the best use of my time that I can do. And then I enrolled it in somewhere in the middle of 2020. It was a 6 month course, very very rigorous, I would say. People from all over the world were were being part of that course. It was entirely online, but still being taught by the actual current faculty at the Harvard Business School. So it was a very very learning process for me, and especially like both my degrees have been engineering centric, so this allowed me to look outside of that and see if maybe at some stage I want to pursue an MBA. So I think it gave me a nice insight into that. One thing I really liked about that was it was all majority of it was based on the case studies and allowed you to really think real world problems. It had like sessions from a lot of like industry tech leaders as well, which was pretty cool. So yeah, I think overall, I am glad that I eventually did that course. It was like pretty rigorous in terms that it required 12 to 13 hours every week, and
It's a
those were
serious
like,
deal.
yeah, it's a serious deal. So there were instances when I thought maybe I shouldn't have done it, but
Yeah.
I'm glad I did it.
Yeah, but is there, like as an outsider, I would say I've always seen Harvard as like a breeding ground for executives or like brilliant executives, I would say. Because like think about it in a way that let's say if you were to graduate with like 30 different people, like I'm just making it up right now. Like let's say if you were to graduate with like 30 other people, then maybe 15 years later, then all of you are like executives in, you know, all sorts of industries. You never know, right? So that's something very very fascinating to me as well. And sometimes I do think about MBA as well. We'll see.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. And I believe like even in any setting that you are, I guess you always should be making the most of it. And like you said, but this was entirely a online course, but yeah, I mean, there were people not only from US but like all over the world, and they were joining at different time zones. And
Right.
so it was pretty good to hang out with them and virtually learn from them and their ideas and the problems that they face and their way of problem solving. So it was a very humbling experience, I must say.
Interesting. Interesting. How do you define success?
Um, I think success is very subjective. I believe, what is something is success for you might not be a success for me,
Correct.
or the degree of success might vary for you and me. So, um, I don't really say I have a pet definition, but I think that you need to be content with what you're doing. If you have set out goals for yourself, you need to be achieving those goals, and at the end of the day, I believe you should be improving as a person every day. So you should be making incremental progress in what you're doing, and be the best version of yourself every day, and strive for betterment in that.
Right. Perfect. Thank you so much. So now we'll switch gears again, and this is going to be a personal and a rapid fire session. So I'm not going to be expecting a lot of long, detailed answers. So let's just have some fun, okay? So here we go. The first question: East Coast or West Coast?
I think East Coast. Yeah, definitely East Coast.
Okay. So tapping into your imagination, if you were to solve one global problem, what is it going to be?
I think poverty and inequality.
Perfect. That's something very close to my heart as well. If you were to give out one message to the alumni community in North America, what do you think it's going to be?
Just stay connected. Just keep on continuing to engage with other alumni, and make sure that you set out some time and give back to the institution that you once were part of, be it in monetary terms, or be it in like voluntary terms. If you're back home, just visit the campus, interact with students, interact with faculty, and just ask them if they need any help, and just spend some time with them.
Awesome. Okay. Do you have an active LinkedIn presence?
I mean, I do have LinkedIn. I'm not sure how active it is. I don't post a lot on that, like some people like to do.
No, like
So, but
if our audience were to connect with you on LinkedIn, do you are you an active user of the platform?
yeah, yeah, sure, sure. You're welcome to share my LinkedIn link in your description, and if anybody reaches out for any sort of help that I'm able to do, I'll be happy to do that. I think that's one thing that has taught me in all these years is like paying it forward. Whatever knowledge that I've gained, be it technical, personal, coming to US, the whole adjustment process, I'll be happy to share it with other folks who are trying to follow the same journey.
And with that, we'd like to wrap up the conversation. Thank you so much once again for being here and having a chat with us, Uzair. This podcast is going to be available on all major platforms. And if you like the content, please do let us know about your feedback in the comments and do like, share, and subscribe. And until the next episode, take care and see you soon. Bye.